things a little quickly, but feel free to reach out if you have any additional questions. And I tried to put information on the slides that you can refer to later if you wish to. But again, welcome, and I'm calling to order the 2023 WEF business meeting. And let's see. All right, so on our agenda today, again, I just called to order, and then I'm going to give a little bit of a background on the state of the Federation, some of the activities that we've been up to, and then Keith Hobson, our treasurer, will give a little bit of a financial report on where we are, and then we'll adjourn onto the HOD meeting. Also want to recognize, Donnell Duncan, HOD speaker, and Aimee Killeen, both of whom are rolling off. Aimee is CLC chair, and certainly we thank them for their partnership with us and engagement with us at our board meetings and otherwise during the year. A little bit of recognition also, here's your 2022-2023 board. So thank you to them. I'm pretty sure most of them are on, and of course, all of us will be at WEF Tech as well. So feel free to come say howdy. And as many of you know, this year we had to replace Walt Marlowe, our executive director, around the middle of the year. And Pat Nichols is our current interim executive director. I know he's been on some of these meetings and he went to his first MA meeting last week in Virginia, had a great time, and has been with us now for about 4 months and will be at WEF Tech. Our expectation is that he will be on board through October. We're just now in the process of getting our search committee formed, and thank you to Jamie Eichenberger, who will be leading that search committee for us. And more information will come from that at a later date. So this time last year, and Jamie was a president, and we were on here to basically launch to you all our strategic plan. And over the last year, we've spent quite a bit of time bringing awareness to that plan to the various stakeholders, and certainly at our member association conference visits. And various stakeholders in WEF, we've really been asking them to look at how their existing efforts align with that plan, and really taking into account our values, especially leading boldly with purpose and agility, and collaborating and focusing on our customers, and being much more inclusive as to how we can, what things we can do to really align with that plan, thinking really boldly. And as I said, like a really big emphasis we've been spending on how do we incorporate those values more so into the work that we're doing on a regular basis. So I'm just going to skip through real quick some of the things that we've been doing and accomplishing over the years. This is not comprehensive. There's been such a lot of great work happening on the Federation level, and certainly at our member association. So this is really just a highlight of some of the things that are going in alignment with our strategic plan. So with our 3-year outcome statement, of course, there's been a real emphasis on sharing our WEF water stories. And I hope that you've seen a lot more activity from the WEF communication staff. Certainly, they've been very active and certainly going to a lot of our events and sharing people's water stories, and also sharing the stories of all the amazing work that everyone within our member associations and within WEF, all our volunteers have been doing. And so if you're not already following WEF on various social media, LinkedIn, Twitter, etc., or I guess it's X now, please be sure to do so, because a lot of the great work that's being done, we're sharing those stories there and amplifying all of the wonderful work that folks are doing. This year, we launched a Water 2050 game that's available, and that's really meant to introduce a next generation of water leaders to potential water careers, and a really exciting format. And this water game was actually inspired by the Brave Blue World film that WEF was the initial partner and a key partner for the Brave Blue World film that's available on Netflix. And speaking of a Brave Blue World, Currently in production is Our Blue World, which is the follow-up to that wonderful documentary. That one is expected to be on Apple TV and coming out next year. And the trailer was released last week, in the last week or so. So I have the QR code there for anyone who wants to take a look. And certainly, they have the Brave Blue World folks have their own, LinkedIn site where they share information and details. But I encourage you to look at that. This one also is going to be focused on telling water stories of folks around in communities around the world and how they interact with water. So it looks really great. And so goal 1 is attract and develop a diverse and passionate water workforce. Just a few highlights again. We're in our 6th year of our inflow program, and it's really great to see a lot of the member associations are creating their own programs and they're increasing year over year. I was in Virginia for Water Jam last week, and their program was going strength. I think they had double the size from the prior year, and so that was also going very well. So it's been really good to see that at some of the member associations. Again, we can have an impact at WEF. We have 32 scholars in the STEM path this year from 18 schools, which again, we seem to keep getting more and more schools applying. And so that sort of speaks to the interest in the various states for programs such as this. So really encouraging folks to also look, and the MAs looking at doing their own programs. And then in our career tech, we have 15 scholars as well. Last year, we started a communications scholars program, and we're continuing that this year, where we're bringing folks who may not have previously had an ability to come to WEF Tech, and from a really key cohort that's really important for us and our success in our strategic plan, but also in the water sector. And so these are folks in communications and public education at utilities and other organizations that we provide a full scholarship and engagement, sort of similar to our inflow program as well. And so this year we will have 9 scholars at WEF Tech as well, and engaging with our public communications and outreach committee and other things. Once again, WEF continued our great engagement with the Stockholm Junior Water Prize. And, again, WEF is an organizer with support from Xylem, and very pleased to say that the US representative won this year at the Global Junior Water Prize competition in Stockholm. Another key area for us, students and young professionals. We were really happy to bring back our very successful, and for us in terms of succession planning and getting young professionals engaged in WEF leadership and MA leadership, our YP Springboard program, and had a lot of engagement with staff and the board and our CLC and HOD leadership there as well. Of course, we're continuing along with our YP Summit. I think they had a record number of students participating this year, and really pleased to see that there were quite a few of them from utilities as well. And then, of course, our YP activities such as the service project and student design competition continue at WEF Tech. And I have a QR code there for all, if you want to have a look at all the various activities that we will be having at WEF Tech. And another thing, of course, we are, especially with our volunteers, produce a lot of really great educational content for engineers, operators, and others. And this year we launched a traveling bookstore going to some of our member associations. And so, I think that's reaching a lot of folks who don't necessarily come to our website to look for books, and hopefully especially operators as well, who are being able to see some of the great books that are there available to them for their professional careers. Moving on to our goal 2, which is cultivate a purpose-driven community to sustainably solve water challenges for all. One of the key aspects of that has been our member association engagement transformation. And, we have had CLC volunteers in that task force working on how do we improve engagement in our committees as demands for folks' time increase, and we want to maximize that impact of that volunteering effort. And so we've one of the things that they did do is rebrand from committees into communities, really just focusing on that community aspect. One of the things when we were doing our strategic plan that folks told us was how much they value that community and really wanting to emphasize the bringing together of folks from different areas, different backgrounds, different contributions in water, and providing that forum for them to really come together and draw inspiration from each other, but really, collaborate to solve water challenges. So that member association engagement transformation and things that have come out of that have been ongoing, and we've been sharing some of that information over the years. One of the things that did come out of that was that we did launch WEF Unity, our new member engagement platform. So encouraging those who aren't already up and engaged with their various communities. I think this is where you also can now go and see volunteer opportunities and also, see what's going on in the various communities so you can engage as well. And of course, we have our huge conference coming up, just, in the next week or so. The board will be leaving in about a week to go to WEFTEC. And so we're really excited to welcome all of you to Chicago. Really excited to share that we are on pace with 2019 in Chicago and doing really well on our sponsorships and exhibits. So we're really, really excited to really be getting, a lot of our member association conferences have been getting on par with record attendance. And so we are, some of the national conferences have been lagging a little bit behind that, but happy to share that we look like we're going to be on par with 2019 as far as attendance and so on. And then on top of that, staff has been working really hard to really enhance what's already an amazing conference, probably, the best conference that there is around in water. And, they started the process and have completed certifying WEFTEC as a sustainable event. And so that's, just across several criteria and really awarded to organizations that establish sustainability and social impact policies, code of conduct, D&I, and so on. And some of the things that you'll see, and I encourage you to look on the WEFTEC page. There's a page related to sustainability and social impact and shows all of the great things and many enhancements to the program as far as, things around wellness. We will have yoga. We have affinity group breakfast series. I show a picture. Last year, we had an initial Black in Water breakfast series that was very well attended. And now we're doing one for other affinity groups as well, in addition to some of the learning exchanges that we've been having for the last several years. And then there's going to be opportunities for attendees, really exciting ones, to volunteer and give back to the community beyond just Waterpalooza and the service project, which we are continuing, but really excited to see some additional opportunities for volunteers and attendees at the conference to give back to the local communities. And of course, we had, again, all of our specialty conference, very successful specialty conferences as well, including a new one that I'll talk about a little bit later. Continued our global engagement. This year we had, for the first time, I can't remember, at least maybe since the 70s, the UN Water Conference in New York. So WEF was a very active participant in those meetings and forums. And it was really a great opportunity to collaborate with folks around the world and really see, I found it very validating of the strategic plan. A lot of the things that we were talking about that we had heard when we were developing that from our members and water stakeholders here were certainly things that we were hearing from folks around the world. And so it was really a great opportunity to collaborate and with folks beyond just what we consider to be our traditional sort of water utility sector. And then, of course, engagement with key utilities like Singapore PUB, attending Singapore Water Week, and our city pairing that we have with some US utilities, with utilities in Asia as well, I had a really good opportunity to participate in one of those pairings, and really great to see how much we really have in common and the ability to really share, between us. I think that was really great and something that we will be continuing. And then our last goal that I wanted to talk about, goal 3, leading the transformation to the circular water economy. Of course, last year, and I leave this detail up, when we launched this last year, a lot of folks were asking, what is the circular water economy? And certainly one of the first things that we wanted to do is to make sure that we convene a group of stakeholders to really craft what that definition meant for WEF and what we really needed to do there, and then look at how we can use that work that we're, and our size and leverage to bring together folks that haven't traditionally engaged with us, but are important for us if we are going to transform to that more circular water economy. And so earlier this year, we launched the Circular Water Economy Task Force with a wide cross-section of people engaged in this effort. Certainly you see some folks from maybe some of the more traditional WEF members, but a lot of folks who are from industries and areas that haven't necessarily traditionally engaged with WEF, which I think was really great and really important for this. And thank you to Erica Bailey and Mark Jockers for co-chairing that, and then Barry Liner on staff for really helping with that effort. And out of the work that we've done, we do now have a definition, and more information around that will be coming out in the coming weeks. And then we will be using that as a jumping off point for our future efforts as we work through strategies on, again, how do we transform to that circular water economy. The other thing that we did have was we had a Circular Water Economy Summit in Nashville. And the idea of that was really to bring together water professionals from various food and beverage, pulp and paper, energy. We had folks from data centers, Walmart, things like that, that were present. And so that, I think, was really successful. We had about 200 people, and that was, again, really fantastic, absolutely fantastic. I think the networking was really excellent. And I think we couldn't stop folks from talking and collaborating. I think from various verticals, but really finding out that we had a lot in common. And as I said, one of the things I think that was really great about that was many of the folks there were actually not WEF members, and then had not necessarily engaged with a WEF event before. But coming out of that event, I think folks really recognize the need for that space. Certainly in their own sectors, they are water stewards, and maybe a few in attending maybe their conferences that have folks who aren't water folks. And so it was really great for them to be able to engage with folks like them in other companies, other sectors, and so on. And so the ask from them was, one, that we do this again, and that we use that platform to create further collaboration, and which is something that we're working on as well. I think some of the, just to give a sense, maybe 44 of the 175 paid registrants had never actually attended a WEF Tech, and less than half of them were WEF members. So I think it really fulfilled this purpose in that regard. And again, just a reminder of our 4 values that we want to keep as our guideposts moving forward. And I want to just touch really specifically on the DE&I component. WEF has a DE&I committee, and that committee has done really excellent work this year, especially looking at how do we enhance our programs and conferences from a DE&I perspective. And they made several recommendations to the board in that regard. One of them that was made, because there's so much activity going on, and there's so much activity going on at our member associations, we really needed someone who was solely focused on this. And they made a recommendation to the board to have a senior director of culture and belonging. And so that requisition is now up, I think, in the last week or two. So encouraging you to look at that and share that with your networks, just so that we can get a really great candidate, so that they can support all of the great work that our member associations and WEF folks, staff and volunteers are doing to make this organization even more inclusive than we are, and to also leverage that to help make the water sector more diverse, equitable, and inclusive. And that's all I had. I haven't had a chance to look at any of the notes, but if there are any questions, feel free to let me know. I want to just pass it on to Keith, who will give the financial report.
Thanks a lot, Ifetayo, and Kelsey's going to lead these slides for me. She'll share that here as we get going. Thanks again for everyone joining us. You can go to the second slide, actually, Kelsey. So just to kind of update you a little bit, for those of you who don't know, the House of Delegates Budget Committee chairperson and vice chairperson serve on the WEF Finance Committee, and those two individuals plus myself also serve on the Audit Committee, just us three. And so to kind of start this off, wanted to present to you the results of the audit this year. We had to provide actually two audits, our normal financial audit and then a federal audit separate because of the amount of money we're receiving through a grant. In this case, it's actually through the CDC. We'll be receiving this not only this coming year, but the year after that as well. So we're prepared to do an additional audit. Those audits all came back in great shape and in clean regards, which is really in mostly in thanks to the WEF financial staff that helps prepare those for this. So congratulations to them on that. The other highlight really maybe of the year, as Ifetayo presented, was our return to in-person events. I think it's to be seen that we not only enjoy receiving our input this way, but we also have a much greater impact in our networking events. And so we had that not only for WEF Tech and specialty conferences, but we had the inaugural Circular Water Economy Summit that Ifetayo mentioned, and we had 3 in-place WEF Max meetings this year as well. As mentioned in the chat, you'll have some of those coming up next year as well. We have made a concerted effort to increase our reserves from kind of a target of 50% of our revenue to try to increase that over time to 100%. Those are projected at 70% right now, so we're on track there. The other thing to note, we had increased the MA grant program for the HOD from $100,000 in the past up to $125,000. That was fully funded this year, even though I know there was more applications for that than could be fully funded. So we'll want to keep an eye on that in future years as well. Next slide. So I and the WEF staff related to finance participate in your HOD budget monthly calls. So that's a way to kind of make sure that we're both on the same track. As I mentioned, your committee chair, who is Casey Gish, and your vice chair, who's Doug Kobrick, served on the finance committee throughout the year, so we can get that input. In the spring of the year, we had a joint meeting between your HOD Budget Committee and CLC leadership to go over the budget process, give them an update on where we were in the current year. And then we had about 1.5 days in July where the Finance Committee got together, reviewed some proposed budget numbers that staff had prepared with input from the Finance Committee and the board, and then we recommended then a budget for next year to the board in August, and the board has approved that for our current upcoming year. Next. So as I mentioned before, the MA grant program, even though it was budgeted at $125,000 in the past, it was a special allocation taken from reserves. We have now included that in the regular operating budget going forward. just like regular programs. So hopefully that will help solidify that program as well. As Ifetayo mentioned, we're projecting WEF Tech revenue to be back to pre-COVID levels this year, and so we're in good shape there. But also keep in mind that a lot of our expenses have increased over the last 3 or 4 years. And so we're still projecting a small operating deficit for next year's budget, but we're getting back on track so that in future years we will have a surplus budget. Part of our budgeting for this coming year includes about a $1 million investment into the strategic planning events that Ifetayo mentioned, on on all 3 of our goals, as well as expanding our circular water economy events coming up this next year. And then we've also continued to invest in some of the technology that we need at the WEF staff level. As you might remember, a few years ago, we implemented a new management system. We've had some issues with that, so we're continuing to improve that, as well as make it a lot more usable for our MAs, both in the membership and dues collection process. Next. Just kind of threw this slide in here to show that we continually take a look at WEF and compare it to other associations, not only throughout the water industry, but other associations in the nonprofit world. And we continue to operate very efficiently, and you can really be proud, I think, of your WEF staff and how we manage our resources. Next. So one of the major accomplishments that we've had this year in the Finance Committee is to take a look at the member dues strategy. We've had a few issues with this in the past, in that it required about an 18-month time period if WEF was going to make an adjustment in the dues policy. So it was not very flexible, required a lot of various hoops to jump through. So we had WEF staff do an extensive look at other associations, both in the water sector and elsewhere, come back to us with what some other associations are doing, how we might be able to update this. The board had some input and ideas as well. And so the Finance Committee proposed a process where we would have just an automatic annual dues increase of up to a maximum of 3% that would be included in the budget. And so we proposed this to the HOD Budget Committee to get input from them. Had some really good input there, no real concerns with the process. One of the concerns in the past was making sure that the MAs would know about an increase ahead of time, so that they could implement that with any of their MA changes as well. So this provides a mechanism where it can be planned on ahead of time, but it's not too large so that it becomes a burdensome from people. The board also has the option each year with this to eliminate that increase if say there'd be an issue, such as a pandemic or other world economic situation, so that it's not an undue burden on anyone at that time. So that was reviewed and then approved by the board in August. That would not go into effect until next year, as shown there at the bottom. So in a sense, this will be kind of like an 18-month process, because this is being approved now, but would not go into effect until the budget process of next year going into 25. And if you have any questions about that, please check with Casey or Doug or myself as we go forward here. Next. So first of all, I want to thank you for the opportunity to be the WEF Treasurer. This is the finalizing of my fourth year on the board, and Christine Volke-Hilditch from the Pennsylvania WEA has been nominated as your next treasurer. This is a 3-year term. You'll hear about that here a little bit later, but Christine has served on the HOD budget before, is familiar with some of the workings of the finance at WEF especially. Couple things with that. We want to propose the continuation of the MA grant program as a regular program, and continue our strategic planning investments that we're always making sure that any budget proposals are in alignment with our strategic plan for any of the groups that come and propose these activities for us. Next. I believe that's the completion. So I'll thank you, and Kelsey, you can return to your program.
All right. Thank you very much, Keith Ifetayo, and the Board of Trustees for all of your leadership over the last year, etc. We appreciate you. And
thanks, Donnell. I just want to again thank everybody for all of their service to WEF, your member association, and certainly to Water. And it's been a real pleasure serving as president, and an honor. And happy to pass it off to Aimee the next couple of weeks, and she will hopefully continue on with our work that we've been doing. But thank you everybody for all of your support and efforts over the years.
Thank you, Ifetayo.
Great year.
And we're definitely looking forward to reaping the harvest of all the seeds that have been sown by this year of leadership of Ifetayo and the Board of Trustees. So we're going to go ahead and call to order the next part of our gathering today, the 2022-2023 WEF HOD meeting. Welcome to all the delegates, all the trustees, WEF staff and guests, etc. We have a very short agenda that we would need to approve. And I'm just going to, just for convenience, share my screen so you can take a quick look at it. The assumption is that everyone had a chance to look at the agenda previously. So this is our agenda for the second meeting of 3, and specifically our 2022-2023 WEF HOD meeting. So this was attached to the meeting invitation and emailed out to all. So I would like to entertain a motion to approve the agenda from any of our delegates.
So moved.
Thank you.
Second.
Thank you, Ellen. And we would like to propose approval of the agenda. All in favor, say aye or raise your hand or do a thumbs up or any of the above to demonstrate agreement with the approval of the agenda. Thank you so much. And then if there are any nays, feel free to drop a nay in the comment, or you can unmute and say nay. As such, the agenda has been approved. Thank you very much. So we're going to have a robust consent agenda today. Couple of things that we're going to be voting on to approve. We'll start with the easiest item, which is the minutes of the September 2022 HOD meetings. So last year's version of this meeting. So I'm going to go ahead and pull that up on the screen just ceremonially. So
Hey,
that you
Donnell,
can-
looks like
Yes.
you got some hands up that you might want to check on.
Are those remnant hands? Jonathan, Childs, and Bachi, Minastian? Questions or just remnants from previous voting?
No, it's the remnants from the previous one.
Yeah.
I just raised my hand. Yeah, I got
I
it.
assumed there were remnants. All right, appreciate it. Thank you. Awesome. All right, so just gonna do a quick screen share just for formality of what we are looking at. So 2021-2022 House of Delegates meeting, we provided the minutes to all specific to this meeting, also attached to the meeting invitation and emailed out to the group. So I would like to entertain a motion for approval of these minutes.
So moved.
Thank you. I'd like to entertain a second. Appreciate it.
I'll second.
Thank you. And if you approve, go ahead and unmute and say aye. That's
Aye.
all clear.
Aye.
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 Excellent. And if there are any nays, unmute and say nay. All right. That's a little easier to track. Thank you very much. All right. And then now we're going to get into the results of some of the work that we have been doing all year, which has been very exciting. And two things are going to happen today that we want to make a final decision on. For 2022-2023, we embarked on a water advocacy work group whose intent was to shift the focus of our water advocacy away from merely federal advocacy to local, provincial, regional, state advocacy, and to then become a water advocacy committee for fiscal year 2024. So we sent out the charter some time ago to give everyone an opportunity to read it, provide comments. So just for the record, I'm just going to put the charter on the screen. We're not going to read it now, but just to let everybody know that this was sent out to all of the delegates. The addition of this committee to the official ranks of the House of Delegates. So I would like to entertain a motion to approve the addition of the Water Advocacy Committee to the House of Delegates.
So moved.
Thank you. A second.
Second.
And I would like to open the floor for votes on this. If you approve, say aye. You could unmute and say aye.
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 Thank you. If there are any nays, you could unmute and say nay. That's an aye or nay. All right. Any nays? All right. It is official. We have a brand new water advocacy committee. So congratulations to that entire work group that worked hard all year to put this structure together and provide the proposed language. Job well done. And we look forward to taking our advocacy efforts from the federal level to the local, state, provincial level, because that's where a lot of decisions are being made. So we're very excited about this work. And that work group did an amazing job. So check out their GIS, where they have all the maps of where advocacy is happening across the federations. Well done. That was way beyond what we expected. So they definitely went for it. So thank you to that group. And we have one other committee that we're adding, and we wanted to give everybody an opportunity to review this. So it was sent out at the same time as we sent out the Water Advocacy Committee addition proposal. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen just for formality. The Communications Committee. So a lot of our communications efforts have been happening basically between the speaker-elect and staff to try to make things happen. And we decided to formalize it and put the responsibility for effective communication from the HOD in the hands of a committee. So this committee will also take on many of the things we're already doing, our videos and summary reports and some of the things that we've been doing, our social media, etc. is going to go through this particular committee. So we're excited to have this, and this is definitely something that our speaker-elect for the next couple of minutes, Alexie Kindrick, really wanted us to do, and she would not let up. And now we have an opportunity to make this happen. So I would like to entertain a motion to approve the new Communications Committee.
So moved.
Thank you. Any second?
Second.
Thank you. And we would like to open the floor. If you agree, say aye to the addition of this new committee.
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Thank you. Are there any nays? You can unmute and say nay. Alexie, congratulations. We now have a communications committee. A round of applause to the great Scots for the work they did to identify this need, and for Alexie for being determined to make this happen. So thank you to all of you for your efforts. Communication is something we know is very important to us at WEF, and we've always been trying to improve it. And the HOD is taking this on head on to really make things happen specific to communication. So the hard part of the meeting is done, I would say, because now we're going to get into the fun part. And that has to do with nominations. And we're excited to introduce for our nominations conversation. Next on our agenda, we have from, let me grab this. Let me get my agenda. Yes. Right. For the business meeting, we will be having two slates of nominations that we're going to be addressing today. One from WEF and then from the House of Delegates. So we're going to invite the leader of the nominating committee of WEF, which will be our past president, Aimee Killeen,
All right.
to present a slate.
Great. Thanks, Donnell. Let me share my screen here real quick. Just have a couple of slides. All right. Can you all see that? Great. So for our Board of Trustee nominations this year, just wanted to cover a couple of items. One, wanted to say a big thank you to our nominations committee. I was chair this year. Ifetayo was our chair-elect. She'll be taking this over next year. And then Diego Rosso on the board, and then our two House of Delegates members, Debbie Lewis from California WA and Mark Poling, delegate at large. So just wanted to say a big thank you. We did a lot of work this year, pulling everything together, reviewing those. Couldn't have done it without the group. So this year, the positions to be filled are Vice President, Treasurer, as Keith mentioned, his term is up, two trustees. We did a gaps analysis at our winter board meeting to talk through where we saw with the people rolling off the board, where we saw some areas that we really wanted to target. And a few of those were international, getting some industry experience, especially as we're looking at circular water economy. So around industrial, agricultural, that type. And then also having some kind of job categories that aren't well represented on the board right now, or aren't fully represented on the board, including utility management, communications, and manufacturing. Someone muted me. So I think I'm unmuted now. Can you all hear me?
Yes. Okay.
All right, perfect. So our nominee for vice president is Keith Hobson. We couldn't keep him away. So coming in from the treasurer role, just a few things. I think you all know Keith, but Keith has served, he's former president and CEO of Fox Engineering Associates, and currently working as a senior project manager at Fox Strand. He's from our Iowa Member Association and has had a lot of WEF involvement, including leading this august body. He's a past Speaker of the House of Delegates and served actually a little more than one term as our WEF Treasurer. He took up my last year when I rolled on as Vice President, so he's been our WEF Treasurer for the last 4 years. Some of the highlights, he has extensive experience in board governance, even outside of his experience with WEF, including serving on the Nevada City Council. And Nevada is a city in Iowa, not just the state. That one confused me for a minute. Working on economic development councils, working with the Rotary Club, and serving as a board member on United Way. He also has a really clear understanding of the role and commitment, the level of engagement that's going to be required, especially as he steps into that year as president. And his deep understanding of WEF's governance and finance will be really important as we onboard our new executive director over the next year. So per our bylaws, the House of Delegates votes to elect our vice president nominee. So I would ask you all, I guess, I don't know if I can make a motion here as not a delegate, but I'll be so bold. So I would move for approval of Keith Hobson as our WEF Vice President.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
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 All right. Any opposed? It's your last chance, Keith. All right. Well, thank you all. I for one am very excited to have Keith joining on the president track here over the next year or several years here. Our next position is for WEF Treasurer, and for WEF Treasurer, I am happy to welcome Christine Volke-Hilditch as our nominee. So Christine works as the Deputy Director of Public Works Utilities with the City of Lancaster in Pennsylvania. She's a PWA past president, also a former delegate, Christine and I had a chance to work together when I was treasurer. She led the House Budget Committee, served on the Audit Committee, and was a great resource there. So she's very familiar with the role of treasurer and what all that entails coming forward. In addition, she serves on WEF's Utility Management Committee and has been involved in our Integrated Planning Task Force. She brings some utility management experience, which was one of the gaps we identified for the board, and is also a licensed operator and has really strong connections, including teaching at a local community college on the operators piece. So very excited to have Christine stepping into this role. I should say stepping into this role pending approval of you all. So as an officer, again, I would move to approve Christine Volke-Hilditch as treasurer.
Second.
So moved.
Approve that.
Second.
All right. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. Congratulations, Christine. And then I wanted to introduce our nominees for the trustees. So first is Tracy Ecola. She's a vice president and the Midwest Department Director for Brown and Caldwell. She served with Central States WEA, where she served as a past president. And she's been involved with the House of Delegates Budget Committee, as well as currently serving as COP Director for Conveyance and Watershed. I think many of you probably know Tracy, but some of the things that were new to me, even after knowing her for many years, she has really strong connections with agriculture and the food and beverage markets. She actually operates a farm, is involved with some agricultural agencies in Minnesota, so brings some of that circular water economy connections and partnerships that we're looking for. She also demonstrated a really clear understanding of the role of our board members versus our staff, as well as our strategic plan and the vision for WEF. Tracy's also a great communicator, so looking forward to having her represent the board. And our second nominee is Kalpana Solanki. So Kalpna is the president and CEO of the Environmental Operators Certification Program in British Columbia. This is actually the operator certification board for that province in Canada. And she also served as a founding member of Operators Without Borders. So Kalpna brings some a really strong connection to to the operator community. She has extensive board experience across many different organizations, both inside and outside of the water sector. She also has a really strong connections across agriculture, food and beverage, and some other industries, having been asked to serve on marketing boards for various agricultural products and those types of things. So bring some good connections that way. She also has a little bit of a, I'll say, non-traditional water background, which brings a little broader perspective to the board and a clear commitment to diversity, equity, and inclusion. The House of Delegates confirms our recommended nominees for trustees, so a little different than officers, but I will entertain a motion to confirm our nominees, Kalpna Solanki and Tracy Ecola.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? All right, that's all I have. So thank you all. We had a great slate of nominees this year, and I think we've got some very strong additions to our Board of Trustees. So thank you.
Thank you, Jamie. And the nominating committee of WEF, the nominating subcommittee of WEF. Great job on selecting your slate for this year. And we're going to move right into the HOD nominating committee recommendations. Leanne Scott, our nominating committee chair, has the floor.
Thank you. If I can share. There you go. Can y'all see that?
Waiting for you to go to slideshow, but we can see a screen now.
There we go. Okay, we had a great year this year. Had a lot of participation. This was this year's nominating committee. I served as chair, Christiana Dragish co-chair, and then Scott Orritt, Bill Davis, Peter Garvey, and Mandy Sheposh. All were committee members. A lot of participation. We got a lot done this year. Our accomplishments for this year is we reviewed and updated all of the different applications. We had 30 amazing applications we reviewed, which was great because that's exactly how many that we needed for all the spots. So with the 2 new committees that were just approved, that means we need a lot more delegates to apply next year so that there will be enough applicants for the different spots. So just want to encourage you all next year to do that. We also worked on an HOD member flow plan that is going to be distributed at WEF Tech that I'm really excited about. I think it helps clarify a lot of responsibilities about what's expected and a little description for each one of the different committees and what all goes on. So I think I'm excited for y'all to receive that at WEF Tech. So we have all of the different selections that we made that we're requesting confirmation for. So for the coming year, delegates at large, Peter Garvey, Kara Hall, Cam Law, and Lee Thomas. For the WEF nominating subcommittee, Scott Orritt. The budget committee, Doug Kobrick as chair. Scott Orritt, Jeff Berlin, Janine Burke-Wells, Mary Mock, and Doug Pike. For the DE&I committee, Valerie Partee as chair. Amy Baker, Ellen Frikedek, Peter Garvey, Virgil Lloyd, and Rosalie Noble for that committee. For the nominating committee, Mandy Sheposh as chair, with James Barsanti, Scott Foley, Cam Law, Aaron Longworth, and Mark Poling. Rounding out that committee, and then the WEF Max committee, Dave Galbraith as chair, with David Brown, Kara Hall, Christopher Tabor, and Lee Thomas. And we're excited to put out for confirmation the 2023-24 Speaker-elect, Bill Davis from South Carolina. So with that, I'd like to request a confirmation of all of those selections.
So moved.
Second,
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposition? No, well, congratulations to everybody that was selected, and thank you all for your contributions this year. We really appreciate it.
Thank you very much, Leanne, and the entire nominating committee. We definitely put a lot of effort into improving our nominating process and getting us to where we are today. So that does not go unnoticed. Thank you for a job well done. And to the entire slate, congratulations. We're excited about the future of the House of Delegates. Looking forward to all the great things that you will be doing in the coming year. And today we're going to have one report out of a committee that was central to the success of the House of Delegates, and that's the Budget Committee. So we're going to give the floor to the Budget Committee now to tell us about how 2022-2023 went. The floor is yours, Casey.
All right, thank you so much. Show of hands, who in the audience is on the Budget Committee? Do I have any committee members here? Got a couple. Doug's here. I just see view all. Okay, well, Keith, thank you. So it has been an awesome year. Let me share my screen. I have a couple PowerPoint slides to cover. Everybody loves PowerPoint. Okay, everybody seeing that okay? All right, so first slide, of course, is to thank the 2022-2023 committee, Doug Kobrick, Riley, Rosalie Nogel, Jamie Wallace, Mike Sweeney, Audrey Harley, Keith Hobson, Iko Fiardo. So thank you all so much for your engagement in the committee this year. It was a really awesome group. I think things really gelled during the first round of review of the MA grant applications, which is kind of the biggest lift of the committee for the year. We did the review, I think it was in February, and I think reflecting on that time, there was a lot of clear passion and engagement from all committee members on taking the process very, very seriously and really having a lot of care and intention behind how the grant applications were reviewed and scored, and really trying to make the most of that program. So thank you everybody for the time. It's no small lift to review those applications and do that process twice throughout the year. And then wanted to also thank some WEF staff, of course, Kelsey, like we all can't praise Kelsey's work enough. She just really keeps the wheels on the bus going round and round and round. So thank you so much, Kelsey. Karen Powderly was very engaged in the committee this year. And we had some cross-pollination both with the budget committee and then the WEF budgeting process. So really that gave me transparency into kind of how WEF functions internally and the hard work that Karen and her team does to keep tight finances within the organization. So she deserves a lot of recognition for that. And then Donnell and Alexie, of course, and their work that they've done this year. I can't imagine how many calls they were on since last October. Yikes. So thank you so much for keeping the passion going. I think Donnell, especially you, just are still bringing the energy even to this call at the end of your tenure in that role. So all that to say, it's been an awesome committee this year, and I really appreciate the opportunity to serve as the chair. As I mentioned earlier, kind of one of the biggest lifts of the committee is to manage the WEF grant program. Just for a quick background, this has been established since 2019. Currently, WEF has a permanent budget line item of $125,000 to award to MAs. This is handed out in 2 different grant cycles throughout the year. This year, we had, I think, a total of 26 MAs apply, 15 received awards. The $125,000 was split between those 2 rounds, so $62,500 for each round. Again, the applications and the campaigns that people or the MAs are submitting for this are awesome. There's some great work behind these programs. It's just unfortunate we can't award grants to everybody that makes the request. But some of the awards that did go out, a lot around DE&I education. There's a lot of getting students involved in both kind of WEF MAC, student design competition, really trying to support rising professionals in our industry. And then different various MA operations upgrades, everything from creating new communication platforms to connecting operators, with MAs to updating websites, things like that. So there's a really broad spectrum of campaigns that the WEF grant program supports, and it's really cool to see the applications and see what different MAs are doing. So just a quick plug, if folks MAs are interested in applying, there will be 2 rounds again next year, same award amount of $125,000. And I really encourage you or somebody from your MA to connect with somebody on the budget committee before applying, and just talk about what the application review process looks like. We really want to support MAs in developing the best applications as possible to increase the odds of receiving an award. So some other things that the committee did this year, kind of 2 main overhauls. One was to the scoring matrix that was used to evaluate applications for the grant program. There was primarily for better alignment with the WEF strategic plan. And then we implemented a weight, and part of the way we did that was implementing a weighting factor for different aspects of the score. For example, over previous years, the ability of an MA to match the requested funds received a higher weight or kind of an equivalent weight of other criteria in the application. So we adjusted the weight of that because sometimes MAs that are requesting funds don't necessarily have the resources to match that. So we kind of want to approach this with a little bit more of an open mind and equitable fashion. We also made some small tweaks to the MA grant application. For example, we capped the total requested amount at $15,000 just to be able to spread the available funds over as many MAs as possible, and implemented a single application requirement. So we were finding some MAs were applying for multiple campaigns under a single application, which kind of makes the review process a little bit more challenging and kind of muddies the waters. So we're setting up more criteria. So a single request applies for a single campaign within the MA. So kind of our third action item for the year was to reflect on how MAs report out the use of the grant money that they receive. And there's some challenges with that, both in how the consistency of report out from MAs, as well as how that information is fed back into the organization. So we weren't really able to get kind of close out that action item as much, but luckily Doug Kobrick, who is serving as vice chair this year, will be carrying the torch forward as chair next year. And we set a really nice foundation for establishing sort of the functionality of the report out, where that information needs to go and how frequently it should be communicated. So we kind of have some good, a good basis to sort of build out that that protocol for the grant program a little more next year. So before I jump into my next slide, is there any questions about the budget committee over the past year, the grant program, what we've accomplished? Anything of that nature? I just went through a lot of information very quickly. Okay, all right, still cold. Please just jump in if there are questions. The last slide I have is just announcement of the 2023-2024 budget committee. We just kind of brought Doug into the chair position. Really looking forward to that. Really, one of my highlights over the year was the opportunity to work with Doug, and he brings a really great passion and sense of humor to the role. And I only know he's going to continue to do that next year in the chair. And then this is the people, my understanding, who is on the budget committee. Maybe it's not a comprehensive list, but regardless, it's some rock star individuals. So I really look forward to seeing what is accomplished over the next year.
Thank you very much, Casey. And thanks to all from the budget committee for a job well done for fiscal year 2023. Great. And I wanted to take an opportunity just to share right now on the screen that we will be entertaining signups for the communications and water advocacy committees right now. So if you are a member of the House of Delegates and you participated in our recent approval a couple of minutes ago of these 2 committees, and you would like to be a part of either of these committees, we are actually opening up the floor to kick off these committees right now. So Kelsey could drop the link in the chat and you can use your phones to grab this QR code. It's a very simple application process. You just put your name and that's it. So they're both small committees. One has, I believe, 6 slots and the other one has 7 or 8. so it's first come, first served. So if you're interested in being in the inaugural committees of communications and water advocacy, definitely take advantage of this opportunity to join these committees now that they are officially a part of the House of Delegates. And before we bring a ceremonial end to fiscal year 23, I did want to open the floor if any of the delegates who have served in fiscal year 23 had any thoughts on the year and would like an opportunity just to share your thoughts on how the year went, etc., etc. If you want to give some thanks to anyone or any of the above, this is the final shot before we share some closing thoughts, and then we're going to transition into fiscal year 24. So we're going to begin our closing thoughts with Scott Foley.
Well, I couldn't, let the opportunity pass to speaking, right? I just want to say thank you, Donnell, and with your vision of the, blowing up the House of Delegates, so to speak, to see what the future will bring and allowing the great Scots an opportunity to kind of set the framework that we can go for the future. And Alexie has taken this and ran with it. You ran with it. I want to thank all the delegates who participated. This is a team effort. This is our House of Delegate. It's not the committed work groups or anything, but we hope that what came out of this work group is going to continue. As you'll see, I don't want to spoil anything for Alexie, but as you see going forward, some of the stuff that was coming out of this work group is going to shape our House of Delegates for the future. And AK, that's the name. So I just want to say thank you. It was a lot of blood, sweat, and tears, a lot of heavy lifting. I want to thank everybody, and it was a pleasure doing this. And Donnell is an evil plan. That's all I got to say. I wanted to say that when he mentioned this, Scott A. and I did not have any idea where this was going to take us. It was hard to wrap our heads around it. And I think the deliverables and the finished product that you will see in the coming weeks, months, and years will demonstrate that vision that Donnell had. So Donnell, we couldn't have done it without you. You've been a great speaker, and I wish you well because we basically loaded you up for the past speaker job, so you're welcome. So you can run, but you can't hide. So I'm just saying, but you'll do a great job in that capacity, because we did give some tasks for the, past speaker. So just thank everybody. So that's all I got to say. I wish Bill Davis all the well coming in, my friend from South Carolina. And so I'll leave it at that.
Thank you, Scott. Bill Davis, you're next. Thank you, Scott.
All right, I will be brief, Mr. Speaker. I really want to thank you personally. I've learned so much from you and Alexie and the board this year. I thank Howard for attending all of our meetings. I look on this thing and I'm very happy because, while you're coming in to serve, I've made so many close friends that I see on the screen today. So I'm very proud to serve as Speaker-elect, and I'm very proud to have served with all of you this year. And I look forward to a great year next year. Thanks so much.
Thank you, Bill. Peter Garvey.
Thank you, Donnell. So many people I wanted to recognize, but I'll keep it short. My co-chair on the water advocacy work group, Christiana, teamwork does work. 1 + 1 can be greater than 2. So thank you, Christiana. Great job. Great working with you. I could pick out several members of our work group, but you know who you are, but I'll just point a finger and a thumbs up to Louis Lamb, from our friend from New Jersey, who went above and beyond on his own personal time and created that wonderful GIS map of advocacy across the federation, not just the contiguous states. So thank you, and thanks to all the other work group members. I would say particularly Kelsey. Kelsey, we always have an answer for me. I'll probably ask you questions I need to go to other people with, but thank you.
Thank you, Peter. Christine.
I wanted to thank you, Donnell. I appreciated the opportunity to serve as the delegate from Pennsylvania, and I appreciate the confidence of the delegates to serve as your treasurer next year. So thank you.
Excellent. All right. Everybody's good. All right. So I'm going to share my closing thoughts now that this is officially coming to an end, let me go ahead and share my screen. Closing thoughts on fiscal year 2023. So I'll begin with a quote from Zig Ziglar. Gratitude is the healthiest of all human emotions. The more you express gratitude for what you have, the more likely you will have even more to express gratitude for. So fiscal year 23 was a success. It was a year that we will never forget. So thank you. Thank you, President Venner, for introducing me to WEF and supporting the HOD throughout your fiscal year 23 tenure. Thank you, Vice President Carter, for being an effective liaison between the BOT and the HOD. Both of you had some conversations with me early on to help set things in the right direction, and your support and your guidance was priceless. Thank you to the fiscal year 22 Speaker, Stephen Drangsholt, for showing me the ropes in fiscal year 22 and setting us up for success in fiscal year 23. I don't think you get enough credit for your style of leadership and how encouraging you have been. And I'm giving you your credit now. Thank you for how much you helped me. And of course, thank you to fiscal year 24 Speaker Alexie Kindrick, specifically for being 100% supportive. Everything that we started, I know it is going to continue and it's going to go to an entirely different level. And of course, we had a good time. So thank you for all that you have done. And of course, special thanks to all our fiscal year 23 work group, committee, and task force leaders. We're going to start with the work groups and the task force. The great Scots, HOD of the Future Work Group, Scott Orrit, Scott Foley. These gentlemen put the work in work group and led a team of people to do something we didn't think was possible. And that's come up with answers to questions we had not really formulated, solve issues we didn't fully articulate, paint without any lines to paint between. And you were able to somehow figure things out and bring the team together. And we're very excited to see the full outcome this year and future years of the work that you have done with the House of Delegates of the Future. Thank you to Christiana and Peter for the Water Advocacy Work Group. I know it was a challenge to change our mindsets from federal advocacy into more local and regional and provincial advocacy. But you were willing to take on the challenge and you were willing to reshape your thinking and your approach to advocacy. Because believe it or not, a lot of what's impacting us is happening on the local level. And it's about time we put our heads together to try to make an impact there also. Thank you to Mandy and Bill for the strategic plan MA rollout task force. It was a big job to take this WEF initiative and drill it down to our member associations and find a way to communicate this. Your assignment was an interesting one, and you did have a limited number of task force members on purpose, but somehow you were able to figure things out and eventually get some movement with rolling this strategic plan out to the member associations and working hand in hand with WEF staff and leadership. And thank you to all those who are part of that task force. And of course, our committees. Thanks to the DE&I committee, Joe Navas and Valerie Partey. I was the first DE&I work group chair of the House of Delegates and was instrumental in creating the committee. So I took a personally vested interest in the success of this committee. And I really appreciate the work of the entire committee and specifically the leaders, Joe Navas and Valerie Party. The WEF Max Committee, Jeff Berlin and Dave Galbraith, they went for it this year. WEF Max was amazing. And if you went to WEF Max, would you not agree that this was an amazing year at WEF Max? I went to the WEF Max in PEI, and Dave was an amazing host. And boy, we had a good time. So definitely thank you to the WEF Max committee for taking WEF Max to an entirely different level. WEF Max Reimagined was really more than we imagined. Casey and Doug from the budget committee, thank you for managing our money. So important when you have an organization to have the right people have their hands and their minds around the funds. And you did a great job with the grant program. You took it upon yourself to improve our processes and deliver on the level that would meet the needs of our member associations. So thank you for the work that you have done. And of course, our nominating committee. Thank you to Leanne for her service. This is not your first rodeo. You came from the previous nominating committee and you stayed on and continue to provide your expertise. And we appreciate you and Christiana and everyone on that committee for doing the hard work of filling all those slots. We know what it's like getting everybody in position. It's like doing some high-level logistics to take all the names and put them into the right slots and the right people in the right places so we can be successful, but you did it. And I want to take this opportunity to thank you and all the members of the nominating committee for a job well done. And of course, this couldn't be done without the WEF staff. Ladies and gentlemen, give an electronic round of applause to our Senior Manager Association Engagement, Kelsey Hurst, for amazing. I mean, Kelsey is amazing, and Kelsey knows she's amazing because we tell her all the time, but she carries us through. So many of us come into these positions and we have no idea what we're doing. So Kelsey has to basically take us by the hand and say, okay, you can do this, you can't do that. This is okay, that's not okay. You probably want to do this. And she really helped us figure things out. We would not have been successful without Kelsey. And of course, Diane Crilly, our Director of Member Association Programs, and the WEF Maxes. An electronic round of applause for Diane. I mean, she's amazing with WEF Max. If you didn't go to WEF Max, you wouldn't understand. Diane is behind everything. And we just are so appreciative to Diane for the work she does to support the House of Delegates. So to every fiscal year 23 delegate who serves on a work group, committee, or task force, I want to take a moment to tell you thank you. Without you, nothing would have happened the way it happened. And we came into the year very ambitious, and we're coming out of the year celebrating a successful tenure. We put the work in work group, commit in committee, and task in task force. So I leave you with this African proverb: if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together. And I dare say we went together. Thank you to all for fiscal year 23. And that brings an end to our year. Good. So that's I will adjourn our fiscal year 23 meeting officially. And I will welcome and call to order our 2023-2024 House of Delegates meeting, and begin by passing over the floor to Ifetayo Venner, WEF President, who will confirm our 2023-2024 HOD Speaker. Ifetayo.
Thank you, Donnell. and thank you for your efforts as speaker in the last year. And I have the pleasure of requesting a motion for confirmation of Alexie Kindrick as speaker for the HOD for 2023 to 2024. So Alexie came to the HOD as a long-standing and active member of the Oklahoma WEA, where she started out as Young Professionals Committee Chair and was quickly elected to the Executive Board as Vice President. She has continuously demonstrated strong leadership skills throughout her time with OWA, including starting the Stormwater Committee and soliciting donations and running the Water's Worth It silent auction. Prior to becoming a delegate, Alexie began her WEF involvement as a member of the Collection Systems Committee, where she served as Mentor Subcommittee Vice Chair. And in that spirit of mentorship being a theme, she also continues to act as a mentor for incoming board members in OWA. Recently, Alexie has become more involved with the WEF Government Affairs community, where she was first a member of the Regulatory Subcommittee and then became second Vice Chair. In this role, she serves as liaison to the HOD and leads the Strategic Leadership Committee. Another theme where one might notice for Alexie is that she gravitates towards leadership positions and is eager to get more involved and contribute as a volunteer, both locally and on the WEF level. Last year, she graduated from WEF's Water Leadership Institute, where her final project focused on authentic leadership and communication. Bringing us to Alexie's experience and contributions on the HOD, where she stated in her speaker-elect application that she has eagerly sought out different leadership opportunities throughout her tenure on the HOD. During her first year as a delegate, Alexie was a member of the HOD Steering Committee and also co-chaired the Federal Advocacy Work Group, where she led the team through the development of a federal advocacy toolkit and actively promoted the Water Advocates program. I certainly remember her a time or two asking folks to sign up. If you have been on the HOD throughout Alexie's tenure, you likely heard, again, reminders to check out, join, and raise awareness about the Water Advocacy Program. Following along the leadership theme again, in her second year, she became Vice Chair of the HOD Budget Committee, where she participated in overseeing the MA Grant Program and served as a member of the WEF Finance and Audit Committees. Outside of WEF involvement, Alexie is a mom to 3 kids and also is actively involved in her local community. It's very likely that you'll hear her talk about baseball throughout the next year. So in summary, Alexie's passion is water, and I would say WEF, and she's looking forward to continuing her leadership on the House of Delegates as Speaker and working with all of you throughout the coming year. And so now, thank you, Alexie, for your engagement so far with HOD and with WEF. And I'd like to ask for a motion and a second to approve Alexie as Speaker of the HOD for 2023 to 2024.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Great. Any opposed? Excellent. Well, congratulations, Alexie, on your approval as HOD Speaker.
Thank you all very much.
Turn it over to you.
Okay. Thank you all very much. Can you guys all hear me? Okay. Yes. Okay. Very excited to be Speaker of the House of Delegates for this upcoming year. I'm really looking forward to it, and I know that we have a lot of work ahead of us, but I know we can do it. So I am going to start us off with the approval of the agenda. As Donnell said, this agenda was part of the meeting invitation that was sent out by Kelsey, and I would love to entertain a motion in a second to approve the agenda.
So moved.
Second. Okay, and a vote, just say aye, raise your hand.
Aye.
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 Any opposed? Okay, awesome. Hearing none, we are going to move on to my work group introduction. And I'm going to share my screen if I can. Right. I have 3 screens, so kind of confusing. Let me know when you can see. One.
Got it.
You also looking at the agenda?
Yes.
Okay. Let me switch it. It'll let me. I'm sorry, guys. This is what happens when you have 3 monitors and they never all want to turn on.
Did we lose Alexie?
Yeah, we may have
I think
lost
we
Alexie.
did.
I
We
think she's,
completely lost her. Oh no.
yeah, she's having some internet issues. So, what we probably may want to do, since Alexie's, is she gonna get back in? Okay, she's come back. Let's see if we can roll. Hi, Alexie. Are you good?
I'm trying. Unfortunately, they made me switch over to the new Teams
Okay.
like a couple days ago, and my computer has not enjoyed it. So I apologize, guys.
All right.
And
okay.
like, please have pity on me while I figure this out. Thank you. All right. Can y'all see it?
Yeah, you're good now.
All right. Let's rock and roll. Okay. So I'm going to talk to y'all a little bit about the 2023-2024 HOD work groups for this upcoming year. And so I know that we've talked about this a lot, but I wanted to just quickly discuss the HOD of the future. This was a big theme throughout 2022, 2023. And we actually had a work group that was tasked with considering ways to align the HOD with the new strategic plan, how to determine how to get 100% delegate participation, and identify a vision for the future of WEF, MAs, and the HOD, and how it all intertwines together. So the Great Scots and their work group came up with some awesome recommendations. This is just a snapshot of those recommendations. They probably had 50 to 75, if not more, on a spreadsheet for us to look at. But real quick, enhanced delegate orientation, adjusting the work groups to be more bite-sized, having work groups focus on both WEF and the MAs, providing guidance regarding value of being a delegate, providing guidance on how MAs select their delegates, and then addressing YP's positions in leadership. So those were some main recommendations and themes that kind of resonated with me as I was going through their work product. So in doing this, we decided to have more than the standard 3 work groups. So typically we have 3 year-long work groups throughout the year. We are going to have 6 this year. So I divided the work groups into what I'm calling tracks. And so the first track is going to be the HOD strategic plan. That is a 12-month, so year-long work group. I then have, we're going to have the HOD of the future track. So continuing that discussion with the first 6 months focusing on the delegates at large program that we have within the HOD, and the second 6 months discussing and brainstorming what we can do with emerging leaders and how to kind of help their success within WEF and RMAs. And then the third track is what I am calling our productivity and deliverables focused track. And so the first one is development of the new member onboarding and orientation program. The second 3 months will be focused on developing a toolkit and best practices for MAs to use when they're selecting their new delegates. And then the final 6 months will be focused on workforce development. I will go through those a little more detail for you guys. So the first one is the HOD strategic plan. The goal of the strategic plan is to develop a mission and vision statements for the HOD, identify core values for the HOD, and then develop goals, objectives, and action plans. This strategic plan is going to be specific for the House of Delegates, but it will, of course, align with the WEF strategic plan that was released last year. And so the goal is to kind of come up with this and put together a plan for the growth and development of the House of Delegates. The second work group that I'm going to discuss is actually the House of Delegates of the Future, Delegates at Large. This will take place again during the first 6 months of the year, so starting right after WEF Tech and going through April. We have several delegate at larges in the House of Delegates, and they do not belong to specific MAs. They actually represent constituencies. And so we want to continue that discussion on how can we better support delegate at larges? How can delegate at larges communicate with their constituencies more effectively? How can we all just better support each other? So there's several questions and tasks involved with this work group, but it will be focused on delegate at larges, and then this work group will provide recommendations to the HOD on any changes, revisions, additions that they might come up with. Okay, the next one is also HOD of the Future. So this is the second 6 months of the year. This will be April through next WEF Tech, and it's going to focus on emerging leaders. So we will ask questions like, what can be done to eliminate barriers to entry for emerging leaders? How can the HOD better support emerging leaders? And how can we better help our MAs support emerging leaders? And one interesting aspect of this is we're going to ask MAs if they have any existing programs or initiatives that are specific to their emerging leaders, and how identify ways to recruit and kind of bring in and support these emerging leaders. Okay, the first of my 3 month. So again, this whole track is going to be focused on productivity and deliverables. Currently, we do not have a formal new delegate onboarding and orientation program. So this work group will take existing documents that we have. I believe we have a PowerPoint and some other documents that have been used in the past for orientation. They're going to take those as a jumping off point and put together an entire program that can be conducted virtually, and will be able to be put in front of the new delegates prior to them arriving at WEF Tech and joining the House of Delegates in person. And they're also going to evaluate and revise the new delegate welcome message email that Kelsey sends out. It provides a lot of information to the delegates, and so they're going to review that and see if there's anything else we need to be including or ways to revise it. The second 3 month is the MA Delegate Selection Best Practices Work Group. So the goal here is to develop a toolkit that will provide guidance to the MAs that will outline on the selection of delegates, and they'll outline the roles and responsibilities of being a WEF delegate. A lot of MAs, myself included, I mean, I was lucky because I had Shelly Chard to kind of guide me through, but a lot of MAs, their delegates, we really don't know what we're getting into when we join. So this will provide a document and a toolkit that prospective delegates can read and determine whether or not they have the time and the availability to really take on all the roles and responsibilities of being a WEF delegate. And we are also going to put together a document that discusses the value of being a WEF delegate. So what does the delegate get in terms of networking and value? and also a sample application. So some member associations just struggle with the selection of their delegate, and we'll put together a sample application that they can use, they can tweak, that will help them review and select from their candidates. And the last 6 months is going to be focused on workforce development. One key aspect to this work group is a MA poll, and that poll will determine which MAs currently have workforce development programs and activities that they use to improve the workforce development in their area, their workforce in their area. And then they're going to take all that information, synthesize it, analyze it, and put together a toolkit that will provide instructions for implementing similar activities and programs that MAs who do not currently have any workforce development efforts that they can then take on to their group. Okay, and so put the work in work group. This QR code is directly to Sign Up Genius. I encourage all of you, all delegates, new delegates and existing delegates, to please join a work group. You can join as many as you want. And here are the signups on that QR code. If you have any questions about any of these work groups before you sign up, you can feel free to contact myself or Kelsey. We can answer any questions that you guys have about them. But I really, really do hope to see everyone's name on at least one work group this year. And so real quick, I know that we're not all surprised about this, but WEF Tech 2023 is next week, and we are going to meet in person at the Chicago Hilton Saturday, September 30th. Dress code is smart casual, and I look forward to seeing everyone there in person. Please come up and say hi to me. I really, really want to meet and get to know everyone. The work groups will have their own breakout sessions in the afternoon. So you will have an opportunity to meet with all of your work groups in person, and committees are also going to have an opportunity to have an in-person breakout as well. HOD is also doing a volunteer activity at 3 p.m. It's the Blessings in a Backpack. So we will be packing backpacks with food to provide to children who have food insecurity. And then please join us also for the joint HOD and CLC activity, which will take place Sunday, October 1st. And now I'm going
Alexie,
to, yes.
Quick question.
Yes, ma'am.
Just for the audience's benefit, since this is the first year we're doing this, can you briefly explain what smart casual is?
I sure can. So I am not a fancy dresser. I tend to be on the casual side. And so I've talked to a bunch of individuals and gotten feedback, but I would like everyone to come as they feel comfortable. So smart casual, jeans, a nice shirt, blazer, that sort of thing. If you want to come in a suit, please do. But I do feel like, I don't know. Like I said, I prefer to wear jeans. So I wanted to give everyone the opportunity to wear jeans if they so choose. So yeah, smart casual. And now I am going to introduce Aimee Killeen, who is our incoming WEF president, and she's going to share with us her vision for 23-24.
And Alexie totally just stole the first part of my talk here, right? My vision for the next year is showing up next Saturday and people are comfortable. Bring your blanket. I know I'm gonna have to bring mine, right? It's freezing in that place. I want to be comfortable, right? So again, I just Googled smart casual after she said that too, because I had no idea what that was. But we want everybody to be comfortable in the meeting and whatever makes you comfortable. For me, it's about being easy, right? A dress is so much easier than having to match an outfit and pick out shoes. So whatever makes you comfortable, 100%, don't brush your hair. This is the life I live these days after COVID. But all kidding aside, thank you so much for everything you guys do every day to make WEF and your member association such a great success. As you all know, you are some of our most engaged members, and we have the new strategic plan. There's been a task force over the last year in the HOD. Working with you guys, I was able to call into a couple of those meetings where y'all were doing great things, getting and rolling out that strategic plan that Bill and Mandy led to, that group that Bill and Mandy led to our MAs and what that looks like. And you may think, hey, Aimee, you sound like a broken record here. I'm gonna talk again about our values. Ifetayo hit on, our goals, our measurables, what we're trying to do to get there. But what we need to continue to work on is our values, that thing that's going to change our culture as we move forward, not just for the next year, but for many years to come. So in going into doing the strategic plan, the board absolutely recognized, we knew changing some of our cultural values as an organization or just as a sector, being bold, right? That's not what we're known for. That we weren't going to fix that in a year. We're not going to fix that in 3 years. This is a long-term process, right? So we knew that. We knew we had to just go down this path, and it would take time. And we need to achieve the goals and the strategies, and we're working on that with staff and with the roadmaps. But we can only achieve those things if we live these 4 core values. So I know y'all have heard them all, right? Being bold, putting the customer at the center, partnering, and DE&I in all we do. So I'm going to very quickly need to, talk about this maybe in a little different than talking about each of them. I'm going to start with one of the foundational things that I always have to do, when I'm, what are we doing? Why are we doing this? And it is 100% start with why. Why are we doing this? Why are we doing a strategic plan for the HOD? Why is government affairs so important to us as an organization? Why are we doing this, right? And until we define our why in everything we do, we're just kind of like aimlessly doing stuff, right? So again, that why is fundamental and core. The next question is, who are we doing this for, right? Who is our who? And again, the board had a lot of discussion about who is our who when we're developing their strategic plan. It is our who our members, is our who every person in the world because they use our services. Who is our who, right? So when you're doing something within the HOD or your member association, start with why, and then who are we doing this for? Is it 5 people that are going to be impacted? Or is it 500 or 5,000 people that are going to be impacted? Again, if we define that who, then we can say, okay, this is going to be impactful, or, oh, maybe we should reconsider this. It's really not going to hit that many people. So who is our who? Who is our customer, right? That goes back to that customer at the center of everything we do. The third thing we want to ask ourselves is, does our who have buy-in to what we're doing? Is it really going to impact them? Have we asked them, from our perspective as the HOD and the board? Do we have their feedback, or are we just doing something that we think is best for our who, right? We need to get that customer. We need to make them feel like they're at the center of all we do. And again, that goes back to, do we have buy-in from them? Do they understand this? Will they understand this? And some of the committees y'all are having with the communications, that's great. Those are the people to kind of help you make that connection between what you're doing, who your who is, and how we connect, right? And how we communicate. So the fourth one is somebody else already doing this, right? I'll tell you, at work on the board a lot, I'm like, did you look this up on the internet, right? Like, there's just so much information out there. There's so many people doing great things in the water space. And we just need to ask ourselves, who's doing this, and can we partner with them? Just because you're a HOD committee, that doesn't mean you can't partner with somebody outside WEF who's rocking this water space already. So can we borrow best practices, ideas from other groups? So who's doing this? That whole partnership part of our values. And then, of course, is it inclusive? Does it support our DE&I fundamentals? Are we engaging everybody in the discussion? That's our DE&I in all we do. So again, that's super important. Are we being inclusive? Are we inviting everybody to the table? Does everybody have a voice in what we're doing? And then, is this the same old thing we've been doing? Are we innovating? Are we trying new things? Are we doing things different? Is it bold? Are we taking a little bit of calculated risk? Really, if there's one place us in our careers and our professions that we can take a risk, it's in doing some volunteer work, right? The risk is a little bit lower than, making a big drastic change to a design of a treatment plant. So again, are we being bold? Are we trying things? Did we maybe try it before? I know that's a lot of us. Hey, look, we tried that. That didn't work 5 years ago. Well, you know what? The world is different than it was 5 years ago. Maybe we try it again. Maybe we do it a little bit differently. Again, what went wrong last time? Maybe if we tweak a few things, it'll be better this time. So again, are we being bold? Are we being innovative in all we do? So we have to acknowledge the boldness, the DE&I in all we do, the partnering, and the customer at the center. These are the things that are going to help us. We have to change our values. We have to move in that direction to change our culture so that we can achieve the goals and the roadmaps that we set out. We can only achieve a life free of water challenges when we're guided by these four values. They're not just words on a page here, down at the bottom. These are things we have to live in every action we take as an organization, every initiative we embark on. And they remind us that we're not just witnesses and are going to watch this change happen within this organization, but we're the catalysts. We're the ones who are going to make the change happen in the organization. So I absolutely look forward to serving as your president over the next year. And I think I still have I counted this morning, but I forgot, I don't know, 13 days or something, Ifetayo, that you still get to do this. But do not hesitate to reach out if you or your MA needs any assistance at all. The board is here. We are here to serve you, our member associations. We're here to serve our members and our delegates. So again, if y'all have any questions or need anything from us over the next year, reach out directly, reach out through Alexie. We're here to serve you. So thank you. Thank you. Looking forward to seeing y'all all next Saturday in comfortable clothes.
That's right. Okay. Well, thank you, Aimee. Guys, we are wrapping up today. I'm so excited for next week and this next year. But I want to leave you guys with one thing to think about before we go. And I promise Aimee and I did not coordinate this, but it's going to sound like we did. And I'm not going to put it up on PowerPoint because we all know what happened last time I tried to do that. But I want everyone to be curious and not judgmental. That is my goal for this next year. And that is actually a quote by Walt Whitman. However, I think most people would recognize it probably from Ted Lasso because he quotes Walt Whitman, in the show. But I just think that that's an extremely important call to action right now. Be curious and not judgmental. Okay, ask the questions and participate. There are a lot of changes being implemented this year within the work groups, in the HOD of the future, within WEF. Ask questions and participate. Join the work groups and join the 2 new committees and help mold the HOD into what you want it to be. Ask the question why. Aimee mentioned that multiple times. That is so valuable, just asking that question. And your curiosity, that is what is going to continue to propel the House of Delegates and WEF into the future. And so I leave you guys just with that statement. Be curious and not judgmental. And I really appreciate your time today. And this was a fantastic business meeting. And again, I'm so excited to see everyone on, next Saturday. So thank you guys. And I will give you back 10 minutes.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye, everyone.
Bye, everyone. See you soon.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
See you guys.